Dear students, in the last 3 modules we studied about criminology, criminal and types of crimes. After studying this module, you shall be able to learn the definition of crime, types of crimes, what is social crime, types of social crimes, what is organized crime, types of organized crimes, and what is political crime. First, introduction to crimes. A crime can be well defined as any act that is against laws or the legal justice system. There are various kinds of crimes, from crimes towards individuals to victimless crimes and violent crimes to white-collar crimes. With every form of offense, there also originates different sociological phenomena and demographic profiles. First, crimes against persons. Crimes towards persons, also known as private crimes, comprise homicide, serious assault, sexual assault, and burglary. Personal crimes are disproportionately spread in the United States, with young, urban, poor, and racial sections doing these offenses more often than others. Next is crime against property. Property crimes comprise robbery of property deprived of bodily harm, such as burglary, larceny, auto theft, and arson. Like personal offenses, young, urban, poor, and racial minorities usually commit these offenses more than others. Then are crimes against morality. Crimes against ethics are also known victimless crimes because there is no petitioner or victim. Prostitution, illegal gambling, and prohibited drug intake are all examples of victimless crimes. Next is white-collar crimes. White-collar crimes are offenses that are done by individuals of good social position who commit offenses in the relation of their profession. This comprises cheating, robbery of money from one's employer, insider trading, and tax evasion and other abuses of income tax laws. White-collar crimes generally produce less anxiety in the public mind rather than other kinds of crime. Though in relations of full dollars, white-collar crimes are even more significant for society. Nevertheless, these offenses are usually the least inspected and less accused. Now we will discuss about the types of crimes. First, social crimes, then organized crimes, and then the political crimes. First, social crimes. Social crimes are also called as victimless crimes, denoted to taboo acts and activities that are socially suitable but prohibited by law. British Marxist historian Eric Hobsbawm, who invented the term, theorized that a social crime is a conscious challenge to the current social direction and its values. Examples comprise alcohol abuse, drug abuse, prostitution, and gambling. First, we'll discuss about alcohol abuse. Alcohol and its abuse is a general social crime experienced in college campuses all around the world. Many countries ban youths under the age of 21 from consuming alcohol. Nevertheless, young 18, 19, and 20-year-old college students are known to drink large amounts of alcohol. Their behavior is illegal, but most people turn the other way because it's considered normal college behavior. Second is drug abuse. Marijuana is a Schedule 1 drug in the United States, and custody or intake of marijuana is punishable by a heavy fine, community service, and time in prison. In spite of the American government's strict orders, millions continue to smoke and trade marijuana. In fact, there is even a burgeoning movement to have it legalized. The government treats it as a dangerous drug, but society in general views it as harmless. Then third is prostitution. Prostitution is illegal in many areas of the world, including most of the United States, but it still persists in the form of escort services and massage parlors. there are trades that evidently offer legally tolerable services. However, everyone is well alert that the attendants and masseurs involved in illegal sexual activities. As the internet has become more famous, prostitution has disclosed on the sites like Craigslist and Backpage, where anybody can now buy a prostitute's services without worrying about the law. Then fourth is gambling. Various forms of gambling are illegal in the countries like the US or the United States. Institutionalized gambling in casinos is allowed, but gambling on street corners or in dusky poker rooms is against the law. Gambling is playing poker, which is considered very usual activity practiced all 50 states. In fact, many television shows even promote it. In many incidents of the show, Roseanne, for instance, some of the main characters would play poker for money. Then fifth is public nudity and fornication. Public nudity and fornication is firmly prohibited in all first and second world countries. Yet, almost every beach across earth indicates at least one topless woman, not to mention but a butt-naked man. Also, the internet is flooded with videos of adults having sex in the low-traffic public venues. They would be allotted references if they were trapped by a law enforcement representative or citizens were to file a complaint. Though most individuals would just merely walk on. However, they might halt an instant to watch. Sixth is driving without a seat belt. In the United States, front travelers should wear a seat belt. In many states, back seat travelers should also wear one. This regulation isn't essentially practiced by everybody, which is why law enforcement agencies rarely hold seatbelt stings in which they pull over random cars and then check to see whether the passengers are wearing a belt. Even if a passenger were to be caught without a belt, he would just face a simple fine. Many people continue to drive without a seat belt. Victimless social crimes have been occurring ever since the first rules and laws were administered. As time is moving, though several previous crimes have now developed entirely known behaviors that carry no risk. For example, sodomy used to be unlawful, but it isn't anymore in various authorities. Irrespective, social crimes are continuously altering. Further, social crimes that weren't cited comprise riding a motorcycle without a helmet, assisting in the euthanasia of a human being, and promoting an illegal prize fight. Next category of crimes is organized crimes. Organized crime is an offense done by planned groups characteristically comprising the distribution of unlawful goods and services to others. Organized crime threatens peace and human safety, disrupts human rights and weakens financial, social, ethnic, political and civil progress of societies in the world. Countless movies have been created on organized crimes, but real crime syndicates are far less glamorous. They vary from extremely organized criminal enterprises down to motorcycle and street gangs. These groups run gambling, prostitution, pornography activities and numerous financial scams like fraud, money laundering and protection rackets. They are tight-knit and secretive, and law enforcement has conventionally had trouble in refining them. Clusters like the Italian mafia, the Russian mob and Asian enterprises have reputable operations in other countries as well. They perpetrate financial scams, identity theft, healthcare scam, and are active in human trafficking. Profits are laundered through shell companies on prepaid credit cards, and even though banking systems to offshore accounts. These criminals are traditionally violent and will harm anyone who obstructs with them. Organized crime participation in pornography inclines to be ownership related reasonably than real production. Infiltrating the industry and controlling distribution allows criminals to rake in profits from payoffs. Since there will always be a demand for some kind of pornography, the syndicate in control will be assured by continuing income. Prostitution, while illegal, offers the same kind of guaranteed income because people will pursue it even if they risk arrest and prosecution. The Italian mafia is possibly the well-known systematized crime group. Drug smuggling, loan sharking and money laundering forms huge profits, though kidnapping, extortion, sports bribery and weapons trafficking are not unheard of. La Costa Nostra, which means our thing in Italian, has long been involved in labor racketeering. The pension and health funds of labor unions provide them with a rich source of embezzlement income. Street gangs and outlaw motorcycle gangs are other prevalent systematized crime operations. They have thousands of members and cultivate ties with international crime syndicates. These gangs operate on local, regional and national levels and primarily comprise in drug and weapons trafficking. In many areas, criminal gangs are accountable for 80% of crime. The retail level drug trade is nearly completely run by these gangs. Law enforcement reaction should be broad, with several agencies exchanging critical information used to infiltrate organized crime groups. International cooperation is also important to counteract internet crime taking place offshore. Skilled investigators and experienced prosecutors expert in cybercrimes, forensic accounting and other specialties can develop strong cases that will facilitate detention of lawbreakers. Lawgivers can recurrently constrict banking, commerce and safeties to deter syndicates from making a profit in the first place. Organized crime groups may run establishments such as casinos. Organized crime is commonly associated with gambling houses. An organized criminal ring may engage in child slavery. Organized crime is known for making huge profits from drug smuggling. Some organized crime groups are involved in prostitution. Some organized criminal organizations are involved in human trafficking. Now, the next category of crimes, that is the political crimes. In criminology, a political crime or political offense is an offense involving overt acts or omissions where there is a duty to act, which prejudice the interests of the state, its government or the political system. It is to be distinguished from the state crime, in which it is the states that break their own criminal laws or public international laws. States define political crimes as any behavior perceived as a threat, real or imagined, to the state's survival, including both violent and non-violent oppositional crimes. A consequence of such criminalization may be that a range of human rights, civil rights and freedoms are curtailed, and conduct which would not normally be considered criminal. Thus, while the majority of those who support the current regime may consider criminalization of politically motivated behavior an acceptable response when the offender is driven by more extreme political, ideological, religious or other beliefs. There may be a question of the morality of a law which simply criminalizes ordinary political dissent. At one extreme, crimes such as treason, sedition and terrorism are political because they represent a direct challenge to the government and power. espionage is usually considered a political crime, but offenders do not have to aim to overthrow the government or to dispose its leaders to be acting in a way perceived as political. A state may perceive it threatening if individuals advocate change to the established order or argue the need for reform of long established policies or engage in acts signifying some degree of disloyalty. Example, by burning the nation's flag in public, but the scope of such crimes can be rather less direct. Moreover, even an offense against non-government institutions, persons or practices may be deemed political. Violence or even discrimination against an ethnic or racial group, as well as trade union strikes or picketing against private employers, can be perceived as a political crime when those in power see such conduct as undermining the political and economic stability of the state. In this context, note that the Law Enforcement Code of Conduct passed by the International Association of Chiefs of Police says in part the fundamental duties of a police officer include serving the community, safeguarding lives and property, protecting the innocent, keeping the peace, and ensuring the rights of all to liberty, equality, and justice. This is cited in Robinson 2002. This code requires that police behave in a courteous and fair manner, that they treat all citizens in a respectable and decent manner, and they never use unnecessary force. When they do it, it is argued that this constitutes a crime, example as an assault, and if it is institutionalized, then over time the use of unnecessary force becomes a state crime. Now we'll end this module with the summary. Crime is well defined as kind of act that is opposing to lawful code or laws. There are several different kinds of offenses, from offenses against individuals to victimless offenses and violent crimes to white-collar crimes. The three kinds of offenses are social crime, organized crime, and political crime. Social crimes, also called as victimless crimes, denote to taboo acts and behaviors that are socially suitable but prohibited by law. Types of social crimes are alcohol abuse, drug abuse, prostitution, driving without a seat belt, public nudity and fornication, and also gambling. Organized crime is an offense done by organized groups, characteristically including the distribution of unlawful goods and facility to others. Organized crime threats harmony and human safety, disrupts human rights and weakens economic, social, cultural, political, and civil growth of societies around the world. These assemblies run gambling, prostitution, pornography activities, and various monetary scams like as scam, money laundering, and human trafficking. A political crime or political offense is an offense involving overt acts or omissions where there is a duty to act which prejudgment the interests of the state, its government, or the political system. Crimes such as treason, sedition, and terrorism are political because they represent a direct challenge to the government in power. Espionage is usually considered a political crime.